Hello everybody, welcome back. It's Cape Rugby TV time where we take a look at what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby and of course the extensions of Club Rugby. As you know, of course people play rugby to get into clubs and clubs. It's a long story, but of course you end up playing somewhere along the line. If you're playing Club Rugby, you aim to get into Western Province Rugby and play for the Stormers or the Curry Cup or the Juniors. Many different facets there. Big thanks, of course, to our partners on board with us, Score Energy Drinks. Of course, you can win yourself a case of Score during the course of the show. MCAM 24-hour pharmacy, Iceberg aircons and compressors, and of course, Thorburn Security Solutions. Folks, on the panel with me tonight, Jerome Parvater. Jerome, welcome back, meneer.
Yeah, JP, it's been a while, but it's good to be back.
Yeah, I haven't seen you for a while. You've been very busy traveling and playing a lot of matches.
Yeah, we've been busy. We've been away for a few weeks now, but luckily we're back at Cape Town this coming week.
And back in the hot seat, Mr. Danny Jones. Danny, nice to have you back.
Good to be back, JP, and good evening to all the viewers.
Second week in a row. People loved the topics that we were talking about last week.
Rugby is always a good topic, JP, to speak about.
Yeah.
So yes, we're here to engage with each other and enjoy the 2 hours or hour we have together.
Now, Jerome, you weren't here last week, but I can tell you that Danny and I were talking about one of the big matches over the weekend was the derby match between Langa and Busy Bees. You know that game, and a lot of the guys playing in that team, in fact, have come through the ranks with you.
Yeah, no, it's always a big derby, and I haven't seen the game, but I suppose there were a lot of people.
There was a lot of people, and Mr. Jones, I suppose that's exactly what we expected.
Club Rugby touches the hearts of and minds of the people in the community, so they come out in droves to support their clubs and their teams. It
was a fantastic day. Other than the rugby itself, folks, the fact that the fans were there, the players were there. Busy Bees was playing against Langa and was one of the oldest derbies that we know in Western Province Rugby. We will, of course, be taking a look at some of the other logs, results and fixtures tonight as well. But let's take a look now at some of the highlights from the match between Busy Bees and Langa. Langa was, of course, the host club, even though they share the fields. Big match. Let's take a look at the first half. first half then, Langa and Busy Bees. Jerome, before we go to you on the technical side of things, Mr. Jones, from a derby perspective, these derbies, they go back a long way.
Definitely, JP. As you know, many of our clubs, not more than 20, are over 100 years old, and a number of them are between 60 and 100. So, yeah, it's there's history between them.
Well, I mean, what happens typically on a day like that? Is it a question of the fans revving each other before the game? Do they give each other a bit of a hard time?
Well,
do they speak to each other?
This is a unique derby because they both share the field.
Yeah.
So obviously a whole week already they're in their faces. The coaches are probably stealing moves from each other, checking out. The community is buzzing, and then whoever wins, bragging rights for the year.
Jerome, you've some of these guys, as I say. Well, let's first tell me about the first half. What did you think?
No, I think it was a great first half. If I look at both teams, I mean, Langa was attacking and they kept the ball through a few phases, but Busy Bees' defense was good. And as you could see at the end there, when you can see your defense are working, they had to kick for poles. They didn't take a line out or scrum because the defense of Busy Bees was so good. So they had to take their 3 points, which was good because you can't just play and you're not going anywhere. So it was good of them to take their points.
The thing that, I mean, I was at the game. It was a fantastic game, I must say. It was actually interesting to watch the fans on the stadium, Mr. Jones. Is that when Busy Bees was, they had their tail up and they were sort of they were really. I mean, you would not tell from the score that this was which side won. I didn't think so. I thought it was. It looked from the outside. This looked 50-50. It was. But what was really interesting is that obviously the stadium was split between Busy Bees fans on the one side and Langa fans on the other side, and it's quite hard to tell who's supporting who, until you see then the singing sort of shifts. As Busy Bees was doing well, the singing was on the one side, and then when Langa, the singing moved to the other side. But I mean, Mr. Jones, getting the fans out of the games like this is big for the players.
Nosebleed for the players, there's no doubt about it. Nobody wants to play in empty stadiums. Even when we have played in empty stadiums, the players will tell you they miss the fans.
Yeah.
And when the people started coming to the stadium, they took it to another level. The players, because they live off the energy of the fans in the stadium.
Jerome, you've seen some of these players. I mean, they come through your ranks. In fact, we're going to maybe speak to you more about that after the break. But how much of an impact do you think the skills that you've been working with the players during your pre-season training, I mean, the last 2 years, how much of an impact do you think those skills would have had on a game like this?
No, I can see JP, and I'm not taking all the credit to the coaches, because one good thing is the Langa and Busy Bees coaches are always there if we work with their players. And you can see that they take that what we're doing at the High Performance Center, they take it with them and they continue with that. If I just look at the defense, if I look at the breakdown, how they present the ball, and if I look at how the guy tried to go steal, they're on their feet. So there's no, even the ref can't give penalties away, and there's no sealing off, and there's no, which we still find difficult with professional players. And if you look at that facet of play there, they were technically correct.
Yeah, I must say, I thought that the game played well. I thought it was refereed very well. I didn't see any incidents. In fact, it was a fantastic game, folks. We'll tell you more about that. We'll tell you more about this game. Langa against Busy Bees really was fantastic for us to get out there and be back on the park where we're playing club rugby on a Saturday. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll carry on our conversation with Mr. Jerome Parvata and Mr. Danny Jones from Western Province Rugby. Back in a sec. Don't go away. Welcome back, everybody. It's Cape Rugby TV. Right, so before the break, if you had joined us, you will know, of course, in fact, you will know by now that the Western Province Club Rugby season has started. It started officially then on the 2nd of April. Mr. Jones, are you getting the feeling that the clubs are back now?
Most definitely, JP. Those clubs who are playing at the moment, they're enjoying themselves. The other clubs were still coming in after the fast, So there's a quick turnover from 2 years without rugby into 2 weeks of rugby.
Yeah. I mean, 2 years ago this time, or at least the conversations was all about, I suppose about COVID and things like that. There were, and if you look 3 years ago, your conversations were normally about facilities and fixtures and getting the timing right with the league structures. The conversation changed then for 2 years, but you're back to those type of conversations now, talking about teams and player registrations and things like that.
Yeah, definitely, and not the medical aids and all those
Yeah.
things that we need to look at. So the clubs are definitely bringing their part to the table with regard to players, coaching, workshops.
Yeah.
You know, we've continued
Yeah.
with our workshops
Yeah.
through Jerome and Azim with coaches and the referees and that. So rugby didn't stop for us because there was no games to be played. We actually found other mechanisms to engage with clubs and with players and with coaches.
I suppose, Jerome, I've got the same question for you. If we think about the last 2 years, your stuff was very much around under 20s, under 21s, coaches' education, and so on. And if we go back 3 years, are you getting the conversation again from clubs now speaking to you about, I've got players that need to come and have a look at how things are working? Are we getting back to that connection of, clubs asking you again, Jerome, can you come down to the field and show us how to scrum?
No, definitely, JP. That's good, and I mean we all miss that that interaction with the coaches and asking, can you come tonight? Coaches say, look at this guy, and that's good. So we can see things are back to normal.
Yeah, well, that is good news. Let's take a look now. Second half, Busy Bees against Langa. Right, folks, so Busy Bees against Langa. Of course, final result then, I believe it was 27-5 to Busy Bees. Jerome, your gut feel again on the game. And obviously, you don't get to see the entire game, 80 minutes and so on. But yeah, your feeling just looking at what you saw.
Yeah, look, you can see the second half, Langa was having more control. Busy Bee was in the fight, but just the way Langa was playing when they're in Busy Bees 22, the patience they have with their big packer forwards, pick and go, and eventually they score. But also, JP, you were talking earlier about the discipline, and it makes it so much easier for everyone. You can see not one player is worried about the other, they're just worried about the game. So the flow of the game was very good. The ref could concentrate on just watching where the ball is going, not watching behind them. So that's a good lesson for club rugby. Stop this nonsense about pulling and about trying to fight or whatever. It's sport. You have to play and you have to enjoy it. So that was one good thing about this game.
Mr. Jones, Jerome talks about discipline. This is, of course, these are the things that you cover in your referees workshops, your coaches education workshops, and of course your Western Province Rugby 2.5 courses. All these improvements that we see in club rugby, the skills, the discipline, the laws, etc. Those are all things that you do behind the scenes with education.
That's right, JP, and it's all there to improve the quality of the game, quality of coaching, quality of refereeing, and that. But I want to latch on to what Jerome was saying. We do have the 1% of player who doesn't necessarily plays the game for enjoyment and that, but plays because he wants to upset the opposition, and then he uses illegal tactics. But
this is the kind of thing that you guys used to do in your day, eh?
No, JP, we played the ball, not the man. But the bulk of clubs and that have taken on the mantle to sport is sport. We must enjoy it. It must be competitive, and we play within the rules.
When you talk about the rules and the discipline and things like that, is that covered under something like BoxSmart, or is it more in the coaches' courses with your World Rugby Level 1 courses?
Look, the most important thing in all coaching manuals, no matter what game plans and that, is coach according to the rules or laws. If I say rules, there's no rules in rugby, it's laws. So the coach needs to understand the laws first and foremost. The players need to understand it, and then you bring all the game systems in and game plans and strategy and all those things. But if the coach doesn't understand the laws and the players, it's shambolic.
Jerome, from a laws point of view, regulations and laws and that, how often do the rules change? You guys are of course busy with the Stormers and the Currie Cup and that, and of course you to bring those rules down. How often do the rules change?
I must say, JP, it changed a lot, but it's small changes that you have to adapt by. But it's how the game is going and how the game is progressing. So if you look at the breakdown, the refs are more on the attacking team, guys sealing off, diving on. So
as a coach, as a coach, do you have to stay up to date? I mean, how do you make that? We see that, for example, in first aid, you have to always update your certificate.
Definitely, you have to, JP. And I must say, with SA Rugby now, with us, with the Currie Cup, we have every second week we have sort of a workshop with the referees to discuss the laws. So it keeps us up to date. And I think we had one about a month ago, Mr. Jones. So I think the next one will follow again once there's new laws. So we will give that feedback to the clubs again. It is very important that they're up to date with the laws. Not only them. It's like what we are doing here now, discussing and talk about the laws. Also the crowd, the spectators play a big role. If they don't know the law, it's tough and it's difficult. And then rather, as Mr. Jones was saying, rather go and enjoy the game and have fun. Don't take your weekly frustrations with your boss gave you at work to the field and just go and enjoy it if you don't know the laws.
Yeah, no, I think we've seen some funny comments in the stands. If you sit, especially when the Bulls supporters are in Cape Town. Right, folks, we're going to take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we're going to catch up with some of the coaches and captains from Busy Bees and Langa. Do not go away. We'll still talk club rugby. Back in a sec. Right, folks, welcome back. Cape Rugby TV. We carry on talking club rugby. It's nice to have you back. Mr. Jones, if we just, on the panel with me, by the way, everybody, Mr. Jerome Parvada, Currie Currie Cup coach, and of course you're dealing still with the juniors and the education together with Nadine.
Nazim.
Well, you got a whole team. Nazim Adams, of course, yeah. Am I right, Jerome?
Yeah, you're right, Jake.
Okay, so
Always right.
you guys have got a lot of coaching. In fact, you've got a coaching course coming up in 2 weeks' time, on the 27th of April.
Yeah.
But Mr. Jones, people must get their applications in 7 days in advance.
Definitely, JP, so that we can get the ball rolling. We encourage all clubs, get involved, send your coaches, it's important.
Yeah. And of course, anyway, we're going to speak to you also a little bit about some of the other festivals that you've got coming up, so that's quite exciting. Are the coaches are the coaches back in the same way that the clubs are back now?
Well, no, I mean, there's been movement around of coaches. There'll always be movement around. But the most important thing is clubs must have succession planning. You know, so they should know if a coach leaves, who's taking his place, the quality around the person and all those things.
Yeah. Right, well, we managed to catch up with Busy Bees coaches and captains. Nadeem McKenzie is, of course, coach at Busy Bees. Busy Bees captain, we spoke to the captains and coaches as well, and, of course, the Langa coach, Kandi Mani. So let's catch up with some of the administrators and behind the scenes after the Busy Bees Langa game.
Yeah, massive game. We turned up today. We could have been better, but I think Langa just wanted a bit more than us, and in the first half, I think we didn't play too badly. If we maintained the position, I think we would have done better. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, it's a better part of 2 years now. I mean, I started last year here, and the growth that's come in the last 2 years has been amazing. And also, now that we can play footy, it just makes life even easier for us. You know what I mean? Welcome back to Western Province Rugby. You know what I mean? Yeah, I mean, I love the Busy Bees. I mean, I came here for the challenge, and as a coach, I've got so much more to learn. You know, and coming to Busy Bees, they're teaching you so much, but as a coach, you're giving so much as well. And you want to change the community from where they were to where they're going, because change is good and growth is good at the club. You know. Yeah, I'd say it was a bit of a humdinger in the first half. I mean, we dominated the game, but at certain facets. But in the second half, we kind of lost ourselves, you know, and that cost us the game today. Silly decision making and trying to rush the game basically cost us more than ever. And also not having a goal kicker is not good enough for us, you know what I mean? Well, we're on a break now. We're going up to the Eastern Cape and we're playing a tournament up there. And then I reckon we'll be playing in that little Easter tournament, and after that we'll come back and play for France because we got them at home in the next 2 weeks.
Yes, it was a very, very good challenge for us. We learned a lot from this game. What I can say, our first half was there, but it was a 50-50. We did play to them and to their faces, but we are not finishing it up. So yeah, we learned a lot. We had a nice, very good friendlies. For instance, we play against first team, Super League 8 team, Hamlet. We learned a lot also from them. When they beat us, but it was for us to polish for this kind of game. But we were unfortunate today. Very, very, very excited. Very, very excited. More especially the young ones, because we got a little like a very, very young squad for BZB this season. So they are very, very excited. More especially the players that came from under 20. They are very, very excited. More especially some of them, it was their first debut today. So yeah, they were very, very excited.
Yes, I'm happy with the results. Since we're coming from last week's game, we did have a shaky thing there during the game, but in this coming game, we did try our best to improve all the things that we've been missed up on last week. Our strong points, we told ourselves, we just keep our ball and work on them. Whatever we do, ball retention, continuous, and try to gain the points. The weakest side, we're totally not so good on the line outside and also on the rucks. They try to beat us to the line out on the rucks, but we're going to work on that thing. Yeah, it was a very good day because when we know the Busy Bees and Langa, and everyone is expecting anything to this game. So that is why the crowd, it was a good day. But also thanks to our fans, they give us a lot of things. Our back was strong because of them.
Yes. No, it was a big game, a very big game. I think, but we are not focusing on only on this one for PZP, because you know when we playing with PZP, it's gonna be a tough and big game. I'm really not sure which team now we're going now, because it's gonna be Easter, and then we're going to the Easter weekend. Then after Easter, the 2 weeks break, and then we're gonna come back in the fourth week after Easter. Yeah, my players are happy because hey, PZP, they beat us. I think it was 2 out of 1 now. Because all the time we playing with them, we lose. But the game, it was ours. In the last minute, they got a try and then they win.
Right, so, Mr. Jones, I suppose the big thing there is that the coaches and captains are positive. They're happy to be back. This is really, really important side of things.
Definitely, they have to be positive, JP. Especially those who've lost, because it's only the second game.
Yeah.
There's many games still to play for.
But I mean, the fact that they're back after 2 years, almost 3 years of not rugby, they're just happy to be back.
Most definitely, JP. Many of them are happy to be outside of the house. So you know what I'm saying. So rugby offers that for them.
Jerome, before I don't want to. I want to stay with Mr. Jones on this. On my next question now. Busy Bees, Langa. This is of course the Easter weekend coming up. So
Correct.
quite a lot of teams are going to be travelling to go play away.
Definitely, they will be going to the Eastern Cape to play in the festivals down there.
Yeah.
Those festivals has been going on for years and years, and we support that hosting of those festivals. As I said, it's reminiscent of the mind, the players working on the mines and that, all coming home for the Easter weekend, and then obviously playing for the clubs, playing for their families, playing in the communities. It's a great festival to be involved in.
Is that some of the history that you've just explained there now?
It is some of the history. And again, it's about bragging rights for the year.
Jerome, the teams though that are going to be playing now in the Easter weekend, they'll also be using those matches as a part of staying tuned in, if for lack of a better word.
Yeah, as the coach Nadim was saying now, it is very important because they haven't played for a while, so it's good for them to have some more game time. So that will help them a lot.
Well, we also know that you have given the clubs an instruction: play as much rugby as you can. Keep your players busy.
Yeah, we also have one good thing is I believe that this West Coast tournament in Saldanha, I think Kales River. I think there's a few other
there's a few teams playing there.
So it's also good.
And we tend to forget that Jonki Nokwe, as well as Mpimpi, played at those festival tournaments in the Eastern Cape and in the Western Cape. And it was moved around. So I mean, those are two Springboks that just comes to mind who have been involved in those tournaments.
Right, folks. Well, of course, as you know, every week we go down to MChem 24-hour pharmacy. You can see it there behind me in all its glory, and we take a look at one of the zones, or at least your public reviews, even for MChem 24-hour pharmacy. At the moment, we're focusing on the surgical and orthopedic zone at MChem 24-hour pharmacy. Fantastic department with great products, very high quality products, and of course, expert advice to help you. But you should also know that in terms of braces, for example, you should never just buy a brace or a support unless you're 100% sure that it is in fact the correct equipment for your injury or whatever condition you might have. An incorrect brace or support could cause further damage and not help with that recovery. So of course you will know what I'm talking about when it comes to braces. We're talking about braces and strapping, for example, for your ankles and your wrists and your elbows, necks even, all of that available at MChem 24-hour pharmacy. And the bottom line is you need to consult with an expert before just buying a brace or support that you think will fit or is correct for your needs. Of course, you get braces and you get supporting type equipment. Meet Sister Miriam Simon from MChem 24-hour pharmacy, orthopedic surgical zone, supervising professional nursing sister.
Hallo, ek is Suster Miriam Simon in bevel van die ortopediese en chirurgiese afdeling hier by MChem 24 uur apteek. My span verpleegsusters en ek is hier om julle die beste raad en advies te gee rondom julle ortopediese en chirurgiese behoeftes. Ons werksure is van 8:00 in die oggend tot 10:00 in die aand. Die departement is oop 24 uur per dag, 7 dae per week. By MChem apteek is ons altyd hier vir jou.
Sister Simon is of course an orthopedic and surgical expert and will be able to guide you with which brace or support is best for you. Right, folks, that's of course at MChem 24-hour pharmacy, open 24/7, always there for you. We'll take a break. When we come back from the break, we'll carry on talking club rugby. Back in a sec. Right, hello everybody. Yes, welcome back. Cape Rugby TV. Remember, you can find us every Wednesday night on Cape Town TV, DSTV channel 263. Wednesday nights from 9 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and of course on Saturday mornings from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m., where we talk to you about what's happening in the world of club rugby. And you can find out more about this also on the Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Cape Rugby TV. Let's take a look at some of the results then that came in over the weekend. So very exciting to see that some of our teams are back in action. And we'll, of course, be asking Mr. Parvat a little bit later in the show to give us some input on some of the scrumming and line out and running skills. So make sure for that, you stay tuned for that when we get some of that information during our last segment. Results then in from the weekend in Super League A. We see Brackenfell with a win over Hamlets, 33 points to 25. Hamilton's beating Tygerberg 25-15. False Bay, well, that match in fact did not take place, folks. And then Unimil with a big win over NTK. Mr. Jones, we spoke about the Tygerberg-Hamilton's game. It does look like Hamilton's ended up bouncing back then after their loss last week to Durban.
Definitely, JP. Well, Hamiltons were licking their wounds, and they came back fighting and firing at Florida Park. For all intents and purposes, I believe it was a great game. It was close, but at the end, Hamilton's won. But as you know, the Tygerberg support and all those things, it's always difficult to win Tygerberg at Tygerberg. So well done to Hammies.
Yeah, the Tira fans, you can't beat the Tira fans, that's for sure. Of course, that match, just explain that to us, the False Bay Villagers match, when you give 20 points to a team, it's to even out the league scores, right? If there's no match that took place.
Correct.
Right, so that makes the logs accurate again. Right, let's take a look at the results then in Super League B. Goodwood went down to All Saints, 38 points to 10. There you see the results for Langa beating Busy Bees, and then Franschhoek with a 1-point win over Belleville, and then Helderberg beating Belhar, also by 1 point. Jerome, last week Mr. Jones and I were talking about this very fact that the Super League B was going to be the down-to-the-wire league of death. It was going to continue. And we're seeing it already. Look at that. 1 point there between Belleville and Franschhoek. That's, of course, your team. Not Franschhoek, Belleville. And then Helderberg with also only a 1-point win over Belhar. We spoke about this. Do you think this is going to carry on like this over the season?
I think it's the same. The Super League will always be like that. It's quite close, and it's good competition. So if you look at that results there, it just says that who's the teams that that you can work out is going to go till the end. Like
Danny,
this.
I see you smiling here. I know that you're about to give me some info.
No, I was just going to say that last week Belleville had a good game against Hands and Arts, and they beat them. And this week they go to Franschhoek, and I'm sure I see Archie won. Archie was probably very happy, but Franschhoek plays a game from the start to finish. They move the ball around. It was a surprise result for me, even though I always knew Franschhoek is a good team.
Yeah.
I thought after that victory at Belleville had against Hands and Arts that they were the favourites in my mind to win. But well done to the community of Franschhoek and Archie and his committee down there and getting those points.
And I suppose Super League B, if we think about Super League A, for example, there's no teams that come down into Super League A. Super League B, you've always got 2 teams from Super League A that are sitting there. And you've always got 2 teams from Super League C that are sitting there. So 4 teams are fresh. 4 teams in Super League B are always ready to go.
Well, for those teams coming from Super League C to Super League B, they'll quickly understand week in, week out you have to perform.
Yeah.
Those guys coming from Super League A, they can't be arrogant and say, okay, we came from a higher league, we should be winning. The winning is done on the field, not in the boardrooms or in the pubs.
Jerome, one of the things that's been said in the past is the difference between Super League B and Super League A, or Super League C and Super League B, for example, is 5 meters faster, 10 kilos heavier, that type of picture. Your whole game plan needs to change as you go up from league to league.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at Hamlets, they were playing
Super League B last
Super League B.
year.
And
Well, not last year, in 2019.
Yeah. So now they're up. They just lost, but that is the gap is actually, as you explain it, it's a bit bigger. It's not that big because guys can compete, but you know, in Super League B, not many teams go to Hamlets and win there. So now they're back in Super League A. In Hamlets, they've lost to a Super League A team that's been established in that league, but Hamlets will just grow and they'll get stronger and they'll understand what this league is about, Super League A.
But Danny, if you want to perform, you need depth.
Definitely. Look, there's depth in Hamlets. There's no doubt about it. That Mamre community produce good players, and they've had good teams. In Super League A, it's all about the tight five. If you can match the big teams with the tight five, then on the back line they'll run away with it. But it is about the tight five. Unfortunately, at Super League A is definitely
Size counts.
I wouldn't say size counts, but the tight five, they make it. Yeah, they make your season successful or not.
Yeah. And player management. How important is player management when you're in the space in terms of?
I suppose because our season is spread, and JP, they don't play 15 weeks continuous and stop. So the season is spread with the universities, with the Ramadan and all those things. So that does help in the recharging of batteries and all those things. But Jerome can speak more on the conditioning as such.
Yeah, Jerome, we're actually going to talk to you about that. Not right now. We're going to speak to you about that when we look at some of the highlights, or at least some of the action moves from the Busy Bees Langa game. Let's take a look now at the results from the match in the matches tournament results in Super League C. And there you will see, it was again a very close game. Wraithby, only 1 point over Albions. Peniel Village is beating Blue Stars by just 2 points, 16-14. A win for Macassar over Elsies Rivier. Eerste Rivier with a win over Blue Jets. And we still wait for the Kylemore Kraaifontein results, as well as the Morningstar and Strand results. But very close games there. Let's take a look at the results then. In the Metro League, Visante Kraal 29-15 over Progress. And then Fora 21, we're going down to Gordons Bay Pioneers, 41 points to 21. In the Northern League, it was a win for Blakes and a win for Windmill United. While in the City League, we see a win for Masipumalele, 21 points to 8 over Young Ideas. Right, folks, well, of course, as you know, you can win yourself a case of Score energy drinks. Score is, of course, on board with the Western Province Rugby and the Western Province Club Rugby Sevens. Now, if you want to win yourself this case of Score, all you need to do is go to our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Cape Rugby TV, and enter our Spot the Ball competition. So every week we take a nice picture, we put it up on Facebook, and we ask you to try and see where the ball is. Here's the picture from this week that you can go and take a look at. All you need to do is see, is the ball, in fact, in quadrant A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, C1, C2, or C3. Right, so, gentlemen, of course, as you know, it's a tricky competition. But right, folks, go to our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Cape Rugby TV. Put yourself in the mix to win a case of Score energy drinks. That is up for grabs. Just go and spot the ball. Tell us which corner you think it's in, and you might find yourself to be a lucky winner of a case of Score. We'll take an ad break. When we come back, we carry on talking Club Rugby. Back in a sec. Do not go away. All right, welcome back, everybody. If you've just tuned in, we're talking Club Rugby here on Cape Rugby TV, all about Western Province Club Rugby. And tonight we're going to change things a little bit, and this actually will be very helpful for you if you're a player or a coach at a club. We are going to get some first-hand skills from the first-hand expert, Mr. Jerome Parvater. Jerome, before we look at these clips, how much time do you guys spend in the professional circuit looking at reruns or doing video analysis?
JP, I must say quite a bit. We're fortunate to most of all our games on TV, so we get the games immediately afterwards to see, and we have a technical guy that cut us clips to all the coaches, so we can review. So we do a review of the game, and then we also do a preview. So the preview is, after last week we played the Bulls last Wednesday, So then Friday we do the preview of the Bulls game.
Okay.
The Monday we'll do the Monday, or the previous Friday we'll do a preview.
Is it something that the players that players should look at? I mean, do they get their own little clips? For example, we're going to show you some clips here now from the Busy Bees Lunga game. But do you advise club rugby coaches to take little videos on their phone or share?
Yeah, this is exactly what we do. So we have the program huddle that the technical guys send all the clips to the players and the individual clips. But also at club rugby, I think we discussed this with the technology now, you can send the whole game to players and you can send them the individual clips also on their phone, so they come back. So what we do, so come back, obviously we play on a Wednesday, the Friday the players come back. There's a guy in charge of the line-out, so he sits with a few players and they discuss the line-out, they give us feedback. There's the hooker is in charge of the scrums, so he'll give us feedback. And so it goes on in the back. The 10 is taking the kicking game, the 12 is looking at defense. So you can divide the guys into groups of 5 and they go through the game, they discuss it. And then obviously us as coaches, we have an idea, we've gone through the game and we compare the notes. And then it's not, because it's not a one-man show anymore. You listen to the players, but you also correct them.
Well, we've got a couple of clips here, and I'd like to get an idea of when you look at a clip, like what would you comment on? What sort of input would you give when you guys are talking? So let's take a look at the first clip here, which is a scrum between Busy Bees and Lunga, and of course you can see the guys in action. So let's just pause it there. So there's a scrum. I mean, we can play it one more time, but when you're sitting in your sessions, what's the kind of things that you'd be looking at there?
Look, what the Lunga number 8 was doing there was actually, you will never want your number 8 to pick the ball up and come left, because you have the number 9 of the opposition team defend there. So you basically play into their hands. You can see how they struggle to get a quick ball off that.
Right.
And also what we also preach to the guys, if the scrum go right, then you take the wheel. For example, if that scrum turn to the left, then the 9 is out to defend. He can't defend that. Then he can pick with the swing of the...
And those are the kind of instructions or discussions you guys would have at a professional level?
Yeah, so that's basically what you empower your number 8. And if you look at the games, it's like, especially if a scrum, the scrum was quite equal against Lunga in Busy Bees, so you don't want that.
Yeah. Let's take a look at another scrum here and give us a little bit more input. This is fantastic first-hand information then from professional structures. All right, we'll pause it there. In fact, we can take another look at it there. But now, Jerome, now the tables were turned. This time it was a Busy Bee scrum.
Yeah, so that's exactly, you can see that's exactly what I was talking about. But Busy Bees, they obviously pre-called that scrum that the number 8 is going to pick up. So that's a channel 1 ball. So channel 1 ball, it's quick in. The hooker strikes, it comes out between the flank and the locks. It doesn't come out directly at the number 8's feet. So it's between the flank and the lock. Quick ball, pick it up and attack to the open side.
What did you think of the scrum itself? It looked like it was very equal.
Yeah, look, it was, because what happened with the channel 1, it's quick in and out. So you ask your props just to have a hit, just a hit and in and out.
Right.
So they didn't focus on the scrum too much. So they won the hit, so the ball was out. So which means they had a hit. So Lunga was going back a bit, so it forced their loose forwards to stay in. They couldn't break because they had to help their prop scrum. And then just the one technical thing which the Busy Bees number 8 did wrong is he should have played a bit closer to the scrums, because he's running. The option is for him to run closer to the scrum to get space out wide. Okay. So he was basically taking up the 13 and 14 space by running wide, so they couldn't attack wide.
All right, we've got one more clip and then we'll take a look at the logs, the club rugby logs. But so far, I'm getting a first-hand rugby lesson here. And, well, it's fascinating listening to it because maybe I'll be looking at my next game slightly differently. Right, Jerome, so now this time around we've switched from the scrum to the line out. We've got about 30 seconds here. Give me a bit of input. What did you think there?
Yeah, you could definitely see that. I think it was Langa's ball.
Yeah.
I think in Busy Bees was they were on the defensive side in contesting, so you could definitely see that it was a pre-call of Langa because Busy Bees had their contesting pot, so they had their number 1 and their number 4 and the number 5 setting right in front to contest that ball in front. So you can see Langa was pre-calling it. That's why they basically went into that contesting pot, which is, you will never
So what's
ask
your advice
guys.
on that?
So
What should they have been?
So you can pre-call,
Yeah.
but when you see how they set up, there must be a cancel call and just take an easy ball in the middle because you're not going to win that ball. And one thing that the refs are looking at now, what Busy Bees were also doing, they were closing the space. So the refs are looking at that. You have to have that half a meter to
You're
almost
now
a
talking
meter
for
gap.
the mom or the dad that don't understand
Yeah.
rugby now. You're talking about where the two teams are
Teams
lined up.
are lined,
the space
they are
between
lined
the two
up.
teams,
Yeah, the two teams are lined up. So there must be a clear line in the middle. So that the hooker, that's why
Yeah.
the hooker can't throw. So if it's my line out and I'm this is the outside shoulder.
Yes.
So the ball must be here. So the guy must catch the ball there. So to prevent the opposition team from stealing the ball is, so the law is now you must keep that gap. You can still contest, but the hooker have to throw the ball in the middle and throw it straight. Yeah.
And that's what the referee has to
That's
make
what
sure
the
is
ref
right,
has to look in. So you're not allowed to touch the opposition player anymore.
Right.
Like in the past, you see guys are jumping over, try to steal the ball,
Yes.
and they touch the player. You're not allowed to do that anymore.
Okay, that's interesting stuff. We're getting rules updates. Let's take a look at the logs. Folks, we will in fact be doing more of these sessions with Jerome in the future. So if you're a club rugby coach, player, fan, and you want to know how the game of rugby works, well, you're going to find out here on Cape Rugby TV. Let's take a look at the logs then. That came up over the weekend. Of course, Stellenbosch sitting at the top of the pile at the moment with False Bay in second, then followed by Unimol. Thereafter, UCT, Durban, Brackenfell. Those are your top 7, and Hamilton's in 8 with Tygerberg in 9 in Super League A. And then in Super League B, we've got Young People sitting at the top of the pile at the moment. They've won 2 from 2. Helderberg's also won 2 from 2. They're just down on points difference. Followed then by Belleville, Belhar, All Saints, Busy Bees, Langa, and then Franschhoek sitting at number 9. Followed by St. George's, who's sitting at number 10. Collegians, Primrose, Vineyards, Goodwood, and Scottsdene still, a lot of those teams still have to start their season. Then taking a look at Super League C, Macassar, Strand, Carlamore, and Albions are at the top of the pile, together with Blue Stars United that have are chasing each other there with Eersterivier, Kraaifontein, and Peniel Villages sitting at 9, and Blue Jays sitting at number 10. And then we've got in the City League, Masiphumelele sitting at the top of the pile, followed by Police, Young Ideas, Western Zebras, the Caledonian Roses, Gardens, Hamadeas, Silvertree, and Violets still need to play. That comes up later in the season. In Southern League, we see Rocklands, Laguna, and Atlantis on the top of the pile, on top of the log at least, followed by Retreat and Peninsula, who still, or at least Peninsula Titans, Thistles, Young Stars, and Manenberg Rangers still have to get on the board. And then in the Northern Leagues, Young Wesley's, Blakes, and Solarian sitting in the top 3 positions, followed by Windmill United and Delft. And folks, then of course you've got the Paarl League with Paarl Rangers sitting at number 1, Young Standards at number 2, Lower Paarl is at 3, Somalian Peril United, Young Gardens, and Riverstones bring up the rear at in the Paarl region. Right, so those are some of your logs. Folks, I think that's about all we have time for tonight. I'm going to say to Mr. Jerome Parvater, thank you for joining us. Of course, Mr. Danny Jones that was from Western Province Rugby was also sitting with us earlier on, and great to have direct first-hand information from Western Province Rugby on what's happening in the world of club rugby. Jerome, we'll leave it at that. We'll say thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks JP, and just happy Easter to all the viewers.
Yeah.
Enjoy your pickle fish and your buns.
Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah, right, folks. Well, of course, if you are out there and you are traveling over the Easter weekend, please be safe on the roads. If you're playing rugby, be careful, enjoy it, have fun, and we will see you again next week, same time, same place. Have a fantastic rugby weekend. Bye-bye.